Welcome to Tree Talkin Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest fights to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game.
Hello.
Hey, Bryce.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. How are you?
Pretty good. Just cruising along here.
There you go. You're not new to this, so
Yeah, buddy, I'm ready.
you've been on a few.
Yeah, I got you. I'm good to go here. I think it'll be a good time. I'm excited.
Why don't we start off with a good story from the last month, because you've had one heck of a month.
Good story from the last month. Let's go with top 5 UKC World.
That's why you're here.
That's right.
So why don't you break down that last cast that you were on?
The very last cast?
Yep.
Oh, man, let's see here. I drew out with Kurt Ehring and Whitey.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the unfortunate souls who drew the short straws to go back out and go hunting.
Yep.
They ended up being top 5 instead of top 6, and they put 5 cards on a table, and 3 of them had a number 1, and 2 of them had a number 2. And it had to be a unanimous decision between all the handlers to do this process, which was draw a card, and if you drew a number 1, you got to buy into the finals, and if you drew a number 2, you had to go out and hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think myself and Jeremiah Roller were probably the 2 quietest guys during this whole thing, because we were both kind of leery, a little skeptical.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jeremiah was thinking. I know what I was thinking. I'm terrible at gambling. I'm absolutely horrible, honestly.
Yeah.
I lose every time. So I looked at Trevor Wade, and I kind of just laughed, and I'm pretty sure I told him, I said, just go ahead and pick somebody else to hunt. And I said, I'll be the one to go hunting. He said, why is that? I said, well, number 1, I'm a terrible gambler. I said, number 2, I said, you see, my dog's name is No Gamble Jed. I'm like, how much more of a sign could there be? Like, it's the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work,
Yep.
So, but, I'd already been prepared to go hunt late round that night.
Yeah.
Going into it, we thought we were going to have to hunt heads up. Jed had not let me down in the last month. That dog was clicking. He was firing on all cylinders. He and I hadn't been together very long. I'd only known the dog for 2.5 weeks, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Something was in the air. He and I were driving. We were a good team, and we were going. So, knowing already having and being in the mindset that I was going to have to hunt late anyways, and knowing what UKC had going on behind the scenes, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's hunt late. If we have to. So I drew the card, and, as fate would have it, I drew a number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurt, he drew a number 2. And by golly, it was so funny to watch his mood change, because he was so pumped up about the card drawing, thinking he was going to draw number 1. And when he drew a number 2, boy, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Colorful Kurt's getting ready to come out. But we had a good cast, and even speaking of the being bad at gambling, they got me and Kurt to the side afterwards, and they said, all right, guys, what type of hunting do you want to hunt? Big woods or patch woods? And I said big woods, because I know how Jed hunts, and Kurt goes patch woods. And so we're at another crossroads, and they're like, well, let's flip a coin for it. Here we go. I'm going to lose this one too. Sure enough, I lost the coin toss. So we went and hunted patchwoods, which, it actually ended up working out all right, because it wasn't patchwoods like I'm used to. I'm used to a little, 10, 15 acre woods. This is a huge section. We never got out of it.
Okay.
So it worked out good. But we get out there, and I'm not going to be able to go through and tell you who struck for what and who treed for what, like Tyler did. Man, I listened to his deal. He was really good at that. My memory's not that good. All I know is that we made 8 trees. We made 7 trees. Jed made 4, Kurt made 3, and we were able to shine 1 tree of Kurt's. We were able to actually get a light in it, and he found his coon. Mm-hmm. The rest of them it was just a super thick canopy. The floor was great. We were able to walk, no problem. But the canopy was just too thick. So I couldn't get a light in them. The dog that treated the coon won the cast, and Kurt moved on, and, I watched the Final Four from the couch on TV. That's kind of how it went.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's frustrating, especially like you said, you and Jed were clicking and doing really well, and he made trees. He did his job, and it's just unfortunately that you couldn't find those coon.
Yep.
If you would have found every coon in every tree, I'm going to imagine, seeing you had an extra tree, you probably would have won.
Right. And that's kind of how I looked at it too. And, I'll be honest, out of the 4 trees, only 3 of them that was I confident in. He struck it. He ran the track like he should. He located and nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a little iffy. It was the very last tree. That dog was tired. He was worn out, and he was almost a mile in there. And I think it was just a come get me, Dad tree.
Yep.
But I mean, it was a legitimate den.
Mm-hmm.
So, he did make 3 good ones though.
Yeah.
But like I said, we just couldn't find him. Kurt found his coon and props to him.
Yep. No, I mean, that's the frustrating thing, and it's kind of just the luck of it, getting a coon that'll look and being able to find one, and especially with all those leaves. Right.
I couldn't tell you how bad I was wishing it was January 1 in UKC so I could use the thermal.
Yeah.
Man, I was blowing the reeds out of that squaller. We couldn't find them. Mm-hmm. It is what it is at that point.
Nope, I understand. Out of curiosity, what squaller were you using?
I was actually using a Tier 1. Kind of funny. I've been using one of Shane Maxey's, the Banshee. That's been my go-to squaller for a long, long, long time.
Okay.
And Tyler and I and Lane Denny, all 3 of us have kind of become pretty good buddies. Mm-hmm. Over the last, I wouldn't say years, but here recently we've become pretty good buddies.
Yeah.
So Tyler, actually at Automotive, he came over and he bought a few custom collars off of me at my booth that I had over there, and he kind of supported my little business I had going on. So I was like, hey, he supported me, I'll support him. Take care of those and take care of you. Yep. So I bought a couple of Tier 1 squallers, and I really liked them. I actually drew out with Tyler and yourself at Automotive.
Yep.
I think you talked about the Tyler's podcast, and I heard Tyler hit that squaller one time, and I was like, oh my, like that sounds really good. So the next day I went and bought one.
There you go.
And actually after World Hunt down there at the finals in Dyersburg, my careless self, I had lost mine. The one that I had, I just lost it in that last round, or the round before the heads up, and we're going out. Tyler, he's laughing, carrying on. He just got a free buy, so I was kind of jabbing him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you happen to know anybody that makes coon bars? I said, I happen to lose mine, and I kind of need one going out here to this final cast. And, just being a stand-up good guy that he is, he just reached right over his neck and pulled off his entire competition pack. Yeah. He said, here, take it. And I'm like, I don't need the whole pack. I said, I just need the squaller. Yeah. So I just took the squaller off his lanyard, and actually that's still a squaller that I'm using today. He never asked for it back. He just gave me that squaller. So
yep.
Good guy, good to do business with, and he makes a good product.
Definitely. And actually, I just posted today, probably a couple hours ago, that Tier 1 is actually sponsoring a giveaway with Tree Talkin Media here. So if you're listening to this podcast, head over to the Tree Talkin Media Facebook page. You have to like both the Tree Talkin Media Facebook page and the Tier 1 Custom Calls Facebook page. You like the post, tag 3 friends, and it enters you to win a Tier 1 Custom Call. Phoenix.
Awesome. Good for them. Way to go, Tyler. Way to go, Lane.
Somebody on October 31st will be getting a squaller.
Hey, while we're doing this, I know this is impromptu. Let's go ahead and throw Midwest Laserworks on there. I'll donate a collar to the cause.
Awesome. That is impromptu, but that's awesome.
I'll donate a collar. You don't even have to throw me in on the ad. I'll just donate it just because I like the guys we're working with.
Awesome. No, that sounds like even better, and thank you very much.
Yeah, buddy, no problem. Midwest Laserworks tried to help.
We'll get into Midwest Laserworks here in a few minutes. So let's get back to that last cast and the World Hunt. And if you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way?
Yes, I honestly would. I think that, I say that and then I go back and forth yes and no. I like the way that I like how they did it. It gave everybody a fair chance. Mm-hmm. Playing the devil's advocate by saying no. If I would have sat there and raised my hand and which a couple of us did and said, hey, why don't we go off the high scores? Mm-hmm. for the early round, or even the previous night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm locked in that way. I get a buy that way. I tied for high scoring dogs on Thursday night.
Okay.
And then my squad was third highest out of the 5 in the early round on Friday. So if they were to win off the high scores, then yeah, I'm locked in. But their argument, which is a valid argument on the UKC staff side, was that people were not competing for a high score in that mindset. And if you know that you're competing for a high score, it changes the entire way that you compete that cast.
Yeah.
And I think Jeremiah even made a statement that Sleepy, and he was treated at the end of the cast, and he never treated him in because he didn't have to.
Yep.
He had a cast win, and he had a coach at the end that he didn't need. So that was the argument that they presented, and that's a fair argument. But I'm not one that goes back and changes. If I could change this, would I do it? I think things happen for a reason. It wasn't meant to be for us. It turned out how it should have. In my opinion, the man upstairs, he's got a plan. He knew what was going to happen before we even turned loose at the RQE. This has all been pre-planned by him. And if that's what he wanted to happen, then that's what happened, and I'm here for it. I'm good with it. I'm happy for those 4 guys. Can't say anything else about it.
I just didn't know. You talk to people, and sometimes people regret things, and I didn't know what your take was. And of the final 5, you're the one that kind of got the short end of the stick with having to draw, and you lost your cast, so therefore you didn't move on. So.
Yep. I was ultimately the only one that it affected.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of people after this, and there's a lot of stories going around about how I got, quote unquote, booted out of the finals. And man, it's crazy, to hear some of the rumors of how they did it. I sit back and laugh. I'm just like, I was there. I was there firsthand. I know how they did it, and this is so far from the truth.
Yep.
Alan and Trevor, they did a good job. They recorded the whole thing on the phone in case there was any discrepancies or questions. They did it right, honestly. So yeah, I mean, do I wish I was there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Am I going to cry with spilt milk? Not a chance.
One of the other reasons I wanted to have you on was I find it very interesting, people that handle dogs that are not theirs. And you got Jed, I believe, at Automokes, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct, yep.
Because I think the night that we hunted together, you said, this is the first night I've ever turned this dog loose.
It would have been the second night.
Okay.
I mean, the night before.
Okay, second night. Still, yep. So I hunted with you on Friday night of Automokes, and second night you hunted him, and then you turn around and you compete in the World Hunt, the 23rd, 24th. It's not like you had that dog for a long time. And how many casts did you put him in?
I think we were 6 for 6 at the time. And then that last cast we lost, so we went 6 or 7 in the total cast. We had 7 casts, won 6 of them.
Okay. That's a pretty impressive run. And especially with a dog that you don't really know before all that.
Yeah, I've been on a few losing streaks like that.
There we go.
I'm not sure what happened. I've got full service. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. Oh, well. So you were saying that you've had a few losing streaks like that, but not a winning streak like that.
Yeah, I went on a couple cold streaks. Heck, I think one time I counted them up, I lost 12 in a row. I was about done competition that night. I was so frustrated.
I imagine so.
But I'd never been on a hot streak like that, and I told my girlfriend, or she asked me how I felt, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel right now. I said, I don't know if we're making a good team or if this is pure luck. I said, I'm just going to ride this train as long as it'll ride.
Yeah.
And we went on to win 6 in a row. So that is by far the best streak I've been on. And what a time for it to come.
Yeah.
Going into the World Hunt and Automokes, those are 2 major events for UKC.
Yep.
So, man, I was just super blessed and fortunate to be able to be there. And I can't say enough about it. My buddy Stephen Basham, actually, he's responsible for all this happening.
Okay.
He called me up, and, me and him, we're really tight. We're super good buddies. And he said, hey, do you have anything to hunt at Oaks? And I said, no. I said, actually, I don't this year. And he said, I've got a dog for you. I said, all right. He said, you're going to hunt Jed. And I said, okay. And I'd never hunted with Jed, but I know Steven had him for a couple months, and he was hunting him. And he's also hunting his buddy dog. And, obviously Steven couldn't hunt both of them at Oaks. So he said, you hunt Jed, I'll hunt Buddy. I said, okay. So that's how that worked. I just met up with Steven at Oaks and got Jed, and the rest is history.
There you go. Now, are you still hunting Jed?
I am not. At Autumn Oaks, I was hunting Jed for Adam Campbell. He was the owner on file.
Okay.
Right after Autumn Oaks, Chris Hatfield and Brian McDaniel purchased Jed. So I hunted the zone and the world hunt for Brian and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, right before I went out Friday night, Bronk McDaniel, who's no relation to Brian, Bronk McDaniel bought the dog. So, the short time that I had him, he has 3 different owners.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Josh Sizemore, he hunts a lot. He's a handler for Bronk. His punch dog, unfortunately, he lost his life got hit on the road at Autumn Oaks.
Oof.
And that Josh and Punch had done a lot of winning together.
Yeah.
So they were kind of looking for something else to put Josh behind, and they ended up pulling the trigger on Jed, and they got him purchased. So I believe that's who Josh has been pushing for a while now, is old Jed. So
okay.
Actually, I got back from the final cast, the heads up cast there with Kurt, and Brian was sitting there waiting on me, and we talked, shook hands, took pictures, and him and Jed went one way, and I went the other. And that's actually the last time I've seen Jed. So hopefully Josh and him have a good run together.
Good deal. How did you get into handling dogs for other people? Because I find that very interesting. The style of dog that it takes to win a competition would get me in trouble where I live. So I don't have that caliber of dog. I don't competition hunt. So to me, it's a very different world. And so how does one get into that? Especially you.
I couldn't tell you. Like I said, it's all Stephen Bass's fault. And I joke about that. It's all happenstance. This is actually the first time that I've really actually handled for somebody like this at a major event. I've had a couple guys that let me borrow their dog once or twice to take to a hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But it was me asking, like, hey, I don't have anything. Would you mind?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
So the only other time that I've actually, I guess you could say, handled for somebody was, I want to say 3 years ago at the PKC World Hunt. I handled a dog named the Tattoo for Mike Ray. He was a crossbred English Walker dog. Mm-hmm. We actually made it to the quarterfinals at the PKC World.
Nice.
And once again, that was a dog that I had never hunted until I took it to the World Hunt. I seem to have pretty good luck doing that. Yeah. I don't know how. It seems like I can't buy a win with my own dogs. So I did hunt for Mike there. He was an older gentleman. His health wasn't great, but he had a really nice dog. Mm-hmm. And I actually worked with a guy who was good friends with Mike, and the guy at work, he kind of hooked us up together.
Gotcha.
So, it's kind of just, through your connections and through your network, of who you know and being in the right place at the right time.
Definitely.
So yeah, it was good. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not a paid handler. I don't have a steady line of dogs waiting to be pushed at a hunt or anything like that.
Okay.
I just happened to catch a good streak at the UKC World.
Nice. See, for some reason I thought that you did that at least a little more often.
No, I do competition hunt quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But it's nothing. It's nothing crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't have guys giving me a gas card and paying my hotel fees and paying all my entry fees to anywhere I want to go. No, I don't have that. But I guess bash him. If he has a few other dogs that he can't handle them all at once, if we're going to go to a hunt together, mm-hmm. then yeah, I'll handle one of his dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, the only other dog that I've actually recently had was I kind of partnered with a guy, our old Rebel dog, Rocky Peace out of Pennsylvania. He had Rebel.
Okay.
So, but I can't say that I was a paid handler. Maybe one day I'll get there. I think that sounds like a fun life to live.
Yeah.
But right now I'm going to keep cranking out the 9 to 5 and hunting when it gets dark.
Well, I just have to say after that run, maybe some guys will be looking at you as a handler, because that's an impressive run, and yeah, a lot of it has to do with the dog, and you've got to have a good dog, but it's just as easy to lose a cast for a good dog as it is to win one for a handler.
Yeah, that's true, and I thought that I honestly there that first night in Dyersburg on Thursday, I thought that I threw the cast away for Jed. We're sitting there leading 375 plus, and he ran a little track and he located and come treed, and I guess there wasn't a huge reason to tree him. My thought process whenever I treated him was the female who was in second place, she was probably 0.6 of a mile to our right, and Jed was working left-handed. And she kept opening up like she was going to tree. And she kept locating. And my thought process was, if she comes treed, we've got to go to her.
Mm-hmm.
If she's got a tune, she takes the lead. And we're possibly going to I don't know what Jed's going to do. I don't know if he's going to go the opposite direction, which he has a good mouth. You can hear him for a good ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just afraid that I was going to get out of hearing, and I wasn't going to be able to get treed in again.
Okay.
And actually another dog, on the last tree that Jed made during that cast, another dog had come and he had backed him on it. And that dog was working kind of close. And I was like, man, I don't want that dog to, take 125 tree and then I take 75 tree and just, throw points away for the track that my dog's working.
Mm-hmm.
So I treed Jed, and I let him tree for like 3 minutes, and then I treat him. I guess I wasn't under pressure, but I swear, Ben, as soon as I said tree Jed, that's the last bark he made. I just met the owner of Jed that day.
Yeah.
He's walking in the woods with me.
Oof.
And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, my stomach was in the bottom of my boot.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching him on the Garmin peel out.
Oh.
And, they put the 2 on me. And I told him, I said, just minus me. He's not there. So we took 125 pump at that point, and I really did. I was like, well, that's it. I just threw the cast away right in front of the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Here was my opportunity at the World Hunt, and I just gave it away. But I talked to him about it, my thought process on that, and I threw out a few points to him, and he and I were talking. We were just kind of sitting there in the woods. There wasn't nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I didn't think about that. He's like, now that you say that, he said, that actually was a pretty good move. So that made me feel a little bit better about it. And I don't know if he was saying that just to make me feel bad. He could tell that I was a little upset or what. But,
yeah.
Jed ended up covering his own track. He went in there. He sunk in a mile. And I think I got him treated in at like 1.12 at the end of the hunt. And he had a tune for the win. So Jed saved me, and I saved him a couple, I shouldn't say I saved him. He saved me, and I just complimented him the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, I'm not a competition hunter, but I am involved with a local club, and so I guide casts, and I've seen some decent dogs that their owners royally mess up, and it's like, that dog would have had this cast won. You wouldn't have done that. And
yep.
It's the same. There's a handful of people that I've seen do it, and it seems to be the same people. And I'm like, you need to pay a handler, because you lose these casts for your dog all the time.
Yeah, and and I've done it. I'm not going to say I haven't. I'd be lying.
Mm-hmm.
But I do get nervous at these hunts, especially the big ones.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's an exciting nervous. It's not like oh man, I'm going to screw something up nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Once, and I tell my girlfriend and everybody, once all 4 dogs are struck in, the nerves completely go away from me.
Okay.
For me, I'm shaking like a leaf until I hear all 4 dogs bark, and I'm like, okay, that's what this dog sounds like. That's what this dog sounds like. I'm good after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I first got into the competition hunting, my buddy Shane Smith, he actually gave me my first, what I would call competition dog, old Shine. I drew out with him with just an old plug, and he could see that I had the desire to hunt. So I wasn't packing around much.
Mm-hmm.
And, he said, hey, man, I got this old dog in my kennel. He said, she can win. She ain't been hunted a while. You got to put the time to get her hunted back up. I said, okay. I was all amped up about it. So he gave me old shine. And he told me, he said, whenever I put her in my dog box, I shut the tailgate. He said, all you got to do is strike her when she barks and tree her when she trees. He said, trust her to do the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. And I still think about that at every dog that I handle. Strike them when they bark and tree them when they tree. What they do other than that is out of your hands. They're a dog.
Yep.
So there is some slick handling that I've seen over the years.
Mm-hmm.
A couple guys will, they'll pitch their dog or something, and you're like, got me there. Or they'll pull a rule from the bottom of the rule book. And you're like, man, I didn't know about that loophole.
Yep.
But those are what I like to call lessons, $30 lessons.
Yep.
And if you can just take those lessons and build on them, remember them,
definitely,
and use them to your advantage the next time, you constantly get better. And most of all, just have fun. I mean, I think if you're out there, if you think you're going to make a living, you're probably wrong doing it. I mean, yes, there are some exceptions. There are a handful of guys who make a darn good living handling dogs.
Yep.
But the majority of guys, this is a hobby. This is fun.
Yep.
The moment you quit having fun, just hang your boots up.
Definitely.
I don't, every cast I go on, even if I'm the judge, I tell them I'll judge this cast as fairly as I can to the best of my ability, but overall we're going to have fun. Mm-hmm. I don't like a cast with a bunch of drama, and I sure don't want to be the cause of that drama.
Yep.
So, I try to play it cool, strike my dog when they bark, tree when they tree, and just have fun. At the end of the night, we're all going home, and hopefully, all the handlers and dogs stay safe. And after that, you can't ask for much more. Just thank the man upstairs. You get on a hot streak and have some good luck. And
hopefully the law doesn't get called on you like at Autumn Oaks.
Oh, buddy, we're also going to thank. I'm not going to say that on the air, but
you don't want to throw them under the bus.
Yeah. Nope, I'm not doing it.
We can at least explain this situation. You got a pin dropped, if I understand it right.
Yeah. So, Autumn Oaks, they were having troubles getting guides, and one of my buddies, he said, "Hey, I'll drop you a pin. Go guide to this spot." He said, "I've guided it there every year for like the last 8 years." I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to warn you." He said, "It's pretty thick, but you can tree coons."
He wasn't lying about that. Okay. That's for sure.
I said, "Okay." So, we get there and you're with Tyler, and we get out, and I tell everybody, I'm like, "Hey, I've never been here. I don't know what we're getting into." I said, "So whatever happens, I'm sorry." And, kind of joking around. And I think the dogs got treed right there to the right-hand side of us, and right off in the woods. And we took about 3 steps in, and I think every one of us looked at each other and was like, oh, boy, what are we getting into? And it was on your hands and knees thick.
That was.
But, we scored on 2 coons right out of the truck. Mm-hmm. And my dog got treed again, and we all walked in there deeper to him, into Jed. And at that point, Tyler, his dog was across the road, and he just went ahead and withdrew. He couldn't hear his dog. There was no chance, really that he could win. And you had rode with Tyler, so you and Tyler kind of peeled out. So the rest of the cast, I'll keep it short and sweet. That we're hunting the cast, and Jed gets treed 0.9, I believe it was, across Brookville Lake.
Jeez.
And the only way to get to him is to go down this valley and go around the lake. And he's directly across it.
I didn't realize he was across the lake.
Yeah, he was across the lake. So we had to go down to the lake, hang a left, swoop around the lake, get back in line with ourselves, and go up. Well, there's a campground right on the other side of the lake. And, I'm sitting there looking at it on my dog trail. I'm like, man, I said, I'm pretty sure it's a campground. And I can see he's treed right on the edge of it. And if I can hear him at 0.9, I'm like, oh gosh, like these campers, like I hope it's empty. Hope there's nobody there.
Oh yeah, Labor Day weekend, nobody there at a campground.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here thinking this in my head. I know it's not possible, but I'm like, here we go. So, like you said, it's super thick. So one of the guys that was on the cast, he was a backup handler. He takes back off to the truck. He says, I'm going to go to the truck, get it. He said, I'll drive around and meet you guys at the campground and give you a ride back. Like, sweet. Appreciate you. So, we split off and go our separate ways. When I tell you that was the worst .9 walk of my entire life, I am not kidding.
Well, because it wasn't .9. You had to walk around. So it was even further.
Oh, my gosh. It was miserable. It was weeds over your head, thorns as thick as you could possibly imagine, having to cross a creek that fed into the lake. Just up and down. It was not fun. It was not enjoyable. Mm. So we get around to the other side of the lake, and we're coming up to the tree. And I can see 2 lights there. And I didn't know if the backup handler had some else with him. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't care at that point. I just wanted to get to Jed. I wanted to get him scored and go back to the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk up there, and I'm telling you, I'm 20 yards from the tree, and I still can't see Jed, and I can't see the lights in there. That's how thick it was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I pop out of the thicket to Jed, and there's the backup handler that drove around to get us. And there also stood the state conservation officer. And I was like, oh boy. So ended up, we had got over on the state park. We had got off of the recreational land and got over onto the state park. Which is the campground where Jed got treed. And,
mm-hmm.
He was about 15 yards behind the camper and just racking them off. So, the law ended up getting called. There's this dog treed. They're trying to sleep in peace. It's late at night.
Yeah.
And it went well for what it was. The conservation officers were very respectful towards us, and we showed our respect towards them, as all hunters should. He was even nice enough to let me sign the tree. And there was the coon sitting right there, so I got my tree plucked up.
There you go.
We had our conversations, and he did his job, and we walked out of there, no harm, no foul. But it turns out, I guess when the backup handler walked back to the truck, he said he was walking down the woods, in between the woods and the cornfield, and he said 2 of them popped out of the corn wearing their night vision goggles, and whenever they announced who they were, he said the road lit up, cherries and berries. They had four trucks surrounding all of our trucks, and he said, "Man, you would have thought we were in there just playing the conspiracy or something." He said there were so many of them. He said I didn't know which way to look. So it was funny. It's not something you want to hear. You don't want to have happen, but it went the best that it could.
Yeah.
For what it was. We got our cast win. We got back to the clubhouse, and it wasn't enough to get into the top 16, but it was a cast win nonetheless. So it was still fun.
Well, I think that's about your run with Jed, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, if you want to touch on anything else during zones or anything, I don't know if you had any big highlights there.
No, Jed did what he was supposed to do. He went in and he treed coons, and we walked out with double cast wins in Palmyra, Missouri. Mm-hmm. We scored 300 plus the first night, which I did not feel confident was enough to get me in.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, yeah, that's funny. That's funny. You don't need a cast win the second night. I'm like, my gut says it's not. I said, we're in Missouri and there's coons in Missouri. So I went out the second night and I played a little aggressive, played fair, but aggressive. Mm-hmm. And walked out of there, I think, with 350 plus. Okay. So we ended up getting our double cast win, which I'm glad we did because it took 375 single score to get in.
Yeah.
So that would not have, my first night win would not have got me through. Mm-hmm. So, no, buddy, that's really, it's short and sweet with Jed. I got him at Autumn Oaks and we did well there. 2 cast wins. Took him to Missouri, 2 more cast wins at the zone. That gave us 4. And then we won Thursday night at the World in Dyersburg and earlier on Friday. And then it came to a screeching halt at the late round Friday night.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I just, the fact that I actually got to hunt with you and Jed at Autumn Oaks, and then just knowing that it was such a short run and a hot streak, and then plus, like I said, then you were the odd man out at the World, so all things I kind of wanted to talk about because after the World Hunt, I was talking to some other guys, and one guy really didn't know much, but he was like, "Yeah, I heard something about some guy got screwed over or something," and I knew somewhat of what happened, so I'm like, "Nah, that's not quite what happened." But like you said, the rumors were swirling around.
It it's funny. Uh, so I think it was the next weekend. Um, was the PKC zones.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I did get a call from a guy. Michael Mitchell called me up, wanting me to. He said, "Hey, man, I just had a run in with my other handler." He said something's happened and he can't handle the dog. He said I reached out to Steven Basham, see if he could handle him, and he said he couldn't, but he gave me your number. He's like, "Can you handle this dog last minute?" I'm like, I don't know. So I think I got some stuff going on. So I called my girlfriend Nikki. Hey, here's the situation. And luckily for me, she loves coon hunting just as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Hey, go for it. If you have an opportunity to handle.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I picked Ben up and took him hunting the next night. And by God, we pulled off a win there.
Nice.
So that was, another deal. I never heard the dog, hadn't hunted with him, and we ended up winning that early round. We didn't win late. But it was a good deal. So where I was getting with that was we meet up with our guide at a gas station to go to our woods, and I hear two guys who are in my cast, and I don't know these gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
I hear them talking about the UKC world, and I'm just sitting back listening, and they're sitting on the back of the tailgate, and man, the story they were telling about how the fifth guy got screwed out of the fourth spot, dude, I'm sitting there laughing. And they're like, "Man, what's so funny?" And I was like, "I am that fifth guy."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, so they're giving me their whole rendition on how this went down. And by golly, I mean, it couldn't have been further from the truth than what happened. And I'm just sitting here, I'm laughing. I'm like, man, it's like that game of telephone, somebody says one thing and then the next person says something a little bit different and then a little bit different. And by the end of it, I mean, we were literally drawing short straws and people were not throwing a fit and then they redid it because people didn't get it how they wanted it to be. And oh man, it was just, and I just had to laugh. I'm like, no, here's how it went.
Yeah.
So it was fun. But yeah, man, that's it. Just, we had a little hot streak, and
yep,
man, I'd love to do it again.
Definitely.
I'm getting ready to move right now and getting ready to start a new job here at the end of the month. So right this second, I'm not hunting too hard. I'm trying to work my 9-to-5 job. Still trying to come home and run Midwest Laserworks and get custom orders out. Plus trying to pack and move.
Yep.
But I think come the end of October, 1st November, I'll be hitting it hard again, and
good deal.
hopefully I'll find something to run. I love the competition side of it.
Yeah.
I like pleasure hunting. That's fun and dandy. But I love competing. I love going to the clubhouse and talking to the guys and, just hanging out and enjoying the camaraderie, and then the competitive side of me also likes to go out there and win.
Oh yeah.
But
I understand. But
yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about Midwest Laserworks. When did that get started?
That got started, I'm going to shoot from the hip here and say 8 months ago.
Okay.
So my day job, I'm a machinist for Nick's companies. We work in heavy industrial machining. I do a lot of manual machining as well as CNC. And I was just, my CNC machine was running one day. I had a long cut. I think it was like an 8-hour cut. So while that machine's running, I didn't have much going on. And I was just going through Facebook and I saw a video of a guy with this laser machine, and he engraved a gun, like the Punisher skull, on a gun.
Okay.
Super quick. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And it looked like he did it at his house. And so I started just doing some research, and right then and there, I mean, I was hooked. It kind of falls in line with what I do for a profession anyways.
Yeah.
I saw a market for people wanting stuff customized. So I kind of talked it over with my girlfriend, and I was like, hey, I think I want to try this. I want to start small. But I think it'd be something that we can make a little side cash at. And buddy, let me say, these last 8 months have been a whirlwind. I have been super blessed and overwhelmed, especially by the hounds community. I can't tell you how many license plates and tumblers and collars I've made for people.
Yep.
You know, and the collars, honestly, that was the number one thing that I wanted to make. When I was like, okay, I have this problem with all of my traditional collars, the brass nameplates.
Mm-hmm.
They either, number one, get so dirty and bent up you can't read them, or number two, the rivets pop out of them. Yeah. And you're hanging on by one rivet, or you lose the nameplate completely.
Yep.
And I've had this happen on a handful of collars. And I was so frustrated. I was like, there's got to be a better way. I don't want to run a traditional dog tag. Mm-hmm. You know, those get snagged on stuff.
Yep.
You know, I didn't know what to do. So the first thing I did when I got my laser was I tried to engrave a collar, and it worked. And I'm pretty sure I screamed, you know, loud enough for everybody in the county to hear me. I was like, yes, this idea I have works. So that's probably my number one seller right now is the laser engraved dog collars, which what I do is I engrave through the reflective stripe on the collars, and it actually removes that material. So what you see behind it is the color of the collar material. So if you order an orange collar, you're going to see orange lettering.
Okay.
And that can never come off. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to rub off. It's not like it's just, you know, burned on there and it's going to smear off. It's permanent. You know, the material is removed.
Yeah.
I've got collars all over Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Kentucky. I've got guys in Virginia, in West Virginia, running them on bear hounds. Mm-hmm. I've never had one come back. People love them. I just shipped 2 to New York. I had a guy in New York ordered them. So they're starting to make their way around.
Yeah.
They're, like I said, if there's an issue with them, I haven't heard of it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I personally run them on all my dogs. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why, and I like that the most because I feel rewarded, knowing that I could possibly help somebody else out, you know.
Yep.
The guy in New York, he actually messaged me and, you know, he said, hey man, I wanted to say thank you, for making a great product. He said, my dog has cut out 3 times. And he said, you know, due to the collar you made, he's been returned. He said the people even mentioned whenever they picked him up, like how easy they could read it.
Yeah.
And that made me feel good. You know, that was a feel good moment for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going good. Whenever I get moved up here to my girlfriend's house at the end of the month, I'm actually planning on expanding and doing a little bit more and buying a better laser. Cool. The orders are just coming in quicker than I can keep up with them. Mm-hmm. And so it's going good right now. I can't say enough about it. You can find out more at MidwestLaserworks.com, or you can follow me on Facebook. Little shameless plug there. You know, and you know, it's been funny. I was listening to the conversation that you and Tyler had the other day. Mm-hmm. He said that I made you a sign, which I would love to do. And Tyler's like, you know, I'm waiting on my sign. And he texted me the other day. He said, hey man, he said, you got my sign done yet? And I said, no. And he said, why not? He said, I know you're not that busy. I said, no. I said, I can squeeze you in. I said, I'm just waiting on you to win the PKC World so I don't have to redo it. You know,
yep.
So I told him I'd make him a sign for Jenna. You know, he told me what he wanted on it. And I said, well, I'm not going to make it yet. I said, you got one more accomplishment to win before I make this sign so I don't have to redo it twice.
Yep.
So, well, you know, the PKC World is going on right now, and good luck to him and Jenna.
Yep.
It's fun to poke at him a little bit.
I was talking to him earlier today, and he was telling me he's got tonight to get her in, but he's got got his little English dog in. Well, somebody else got his little English dog in, so he's at least going to hunt in the World.
Yeah, tonight's his last night to get Jenny in. It's Thursday, and you know, I texted him earlier and told him good luck, and I was rooting for him, and you know, hopefully he does, and we can get that sign made for him.
That'd be pretty awesome if he's able to do it. So,
yes, sir.
Well, Bryce, I appreciate it, and I think this is about it for tonight.
Yeah, buddy, I appreciate you having me on here. You know, I enjoy talking, you know, to fellow hunters and people who are trying to do good things for the sport of hounds in general. I know you do a lot of stuff other than just the coon hounds, and you know, just trying to paint what we do in a positive light for the houndsmen, and hopefully we can keep it going for years to come, the next generation.
Yep, that's the goal. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talkin Media, and until next time, keep them talking in the timber.